the Western Hemisphere calendar is based on the sun. We have a sun calendar. Now in Asia, the calendar is lunar. It's based on the moon. And in Polynesia, the calendar is based on the stars. The sun is the brightest light. So here in the Western Hemisphere, we follow the light. It's all about darkness versus light. Now, in Asia, the moon is what governs the tides. It's the magnetic push and pull of the Earth's energy lines. It's all about attracting and repelling. In Polynesia, the stars are the only light in the vast space of our universe. So tiny in the night sky, but billions of small sparkles which guide you, especially if you're sailing across the oceans like they did. It's all about finding hope. And this past week, I was again applying for jobs. I was buried in a mountain of research about which companies and which people that I want to work for. And Jesus came to me and he stood in front of me. And I don't see him like how I'm looking at you right now. At first, it was just an immediate sensation of calm. But then in my mind's eye, I saw a vision of a bearded man in a cream-colored robe, and he placed his hand over mine. And he said, "Follow the glimmers of hope." And I was like, is that all you have, glimmers? Like, that's like glimmers, like a sliver, like little thin slices of hope. Like, what will that get me? What was a glimmer gonna get me? And Jesus gave me flashes of the Underground Railway, where runaway slaves followed the North Star to get to freedom. And then he showed me how the Magi were looking for a savior and followed a star rising in the east to discover a baby born in a manger. And Jesus said, slaves looking for freedom, wise men looking for a savior, you're looking for a job. Glimmers of hope will save you. So the big Thanksgiving miracle is actually a small, potent acorn blessing. This autumn season, when it starts to get dark and rainy and cold, what you need is a glimmer of hope to save you. Please write that in your journal. What I need is a glimmer of hope. Thanksgiving for ancient Hawaiians was called Makahiki, which is known as the Hawaiian New Year, and it marked the change of seasonal weather patterns. So like many cultures around the world, it was a harvest celebration, which meant no fighting, peace, family feasting, and sports events. It's a universal thing. And so it was an expression of thanks and appreciation for life. And the way that Hawaiians knew that it was Makahiki, or the New Year, is it was usually November, and it was a moment when the sun set in the west, a cluster of 7 stars would rise in the east. And those stars are called Makali'i, or little stars, also known as the Pleiades, or the 7 sisters. Now, this little cluster of stars resembles a little cup of stars, and it looks like the little cup is pouring out its contents into the sky, and what follows is a curve or an arc of other larger stars. And in Hawaiian, that's called Keka o Makali'i. Now, in Hawaiian lore, this is how the story goes. There's this chief, and he hoarded all the food, he gathered it in a net, and then he hung it up in the highest stratum of the heavens. And all the people were starving. They're trying to figure out how to get their food back. And finally, a little mouse volunteers. He decides to take on the task, and he starts to chew on the net, and he makes a hole, and the food drops out of the net and falls to earth. So a tiny mouse, a tiny glimmer of hope, who feeds a whole lot of people. So Makali'i, which is the tiny cup of stars, the 7 sisters, or the Pleiades, was also recorded in Chinese literature around 2357 BCE. And the Japanese refer to that same cluster of stars as Subaru, which is a coming together or uniting. And in South America, the Mayan people constructed their ceremonial centers so that the constellation would pass directly over them every 52 years. The Tahitian people call this cluster of stars Matari'i, and in the Marquesas, it's called Maitaiki, and the Maori people call it Matariki. And 7, as you know, it's the number of good luck, means you're on the right path, keep going. So that's Thanksgiving. That's the harvest festival in Hawaiian culture. And it's also the little stars of hope that feed everyone.